So, the today's topic that I will be talking about is on daylight simulation and all the advancements that has been quite a while in this industry, particularly from 2011 to 2021. And let's dive in then. So, let's start. This particular slide, as you can see, we have three aspects in a sustainable design when we talk about sustainable architecture or anything. That is a daylight availability, visual comfort, and energy. So from this slide, you can see each thing is an interdependent characteristics of a building where everything is an integral part of simulation. For example, the daylight availability is directly uh, controlled by occupant behavior, and this occupant behavior will change the daylight concept, and this daylight concept will change the visual comfort, and this visual comfort will again affect the occupant behavior. So it is an integral part of a simulation which we are talking about today. So we'll only focus today on daylight availability and visual comfort. So in daylight availability, we are talking about quantitative aspects of daylight, like if it is a under daylit area, it is a daylit area, or it is over daylit area. So as you have already gone through the simulation aspects in the course, under daylit area can be quantified through the UDI lower value. For example, I presume that you know what is UDI, useful daylight illuminance, and under daylit area would be less than something 100, somewhere 300 as per the typology of the building. Daylit area would be the what is the comfort range of daylight which we are trying to achieve, and the over daylight is which is not good for the occupant health. Visual comfort is also disturbed. For example, glare, that is I think more than 2000 lux to 3000 lux, right? So it is mainly on grid based simulations where we put a plane on the simulation models which is at a height of 0.75 meters, and we simulate a particular aspect of daylight. While coming to the visual comfort, it is basically a qualitative aspect of daylight, where we try to understand image-based simulations such as glare, view factor, or adaptive lighting for alertness. That is particularly as a, we also call it as a circadian simulation, right? So in these two, in today's industry, this all the simulations, if you are performing for a comfort analysis or for any rating system, the daylight is divided two parts. One is daylight availability and visual comfort, right? But whatever you are trying to do in a simulation environment, that is only by trying to predict how the building will perform. As Donna said, it is very important to understand how you are actually modeling a thing in a software and what is in reality, how much difference is there. You should always do a post occupancy evaluation also where possible, right? So coming to the next slide, there are a lot of prediction tools already in our industry which was used from previous years. For example, this is one of a very good paper I read, written by Christopher Reinhardt. He is a building scientist and is also the developer of Diva simulation tool, if you know that. So he did a analysis of with 124 designers and engineers, and the main idea was to understand what particular prediction tool an engineer or designer use in a particular part of a design development stage, right? So he came to conclusion that when we are in very starting part of design, where we are trying to understand the concepts, we're trying to develop some new things, we're trying to understand a lot of passive strategies and everything. Lot of designers and engineers are using rule of thumb and also the experience what they have gained in their previous projects, right? They are not directly depending upon computer simulations, design guidelines, or anything. But when it comes to the next stage, the design development stage, they're using computer simulations. So, but with increase in graphical interface of simulation tools and understanding of simulation software is quite easy nowadays for architects and engineers. So in 2019, American Institute of Architects prescribed a very nice book, or I can just tell you, it is a very good read. You should also download this from the web. It is an architect's guide to building performance, where you can see at what particular stage of design you can incorporate this type of simulations. So for example, earlier we could see the simulation was introduced in the later part of design development. But with increase in all the graphical interface and with the ease all the simulations are done, schematic design development can have a daylight simulation at the early part of design, which will ultimately help or reduce cost in the later part of design interpretations, right? So before going into the detail of simulations, I want to just clear out two misconceptions in our particular industry, AC industry. And regularly I hear this particular question, which is very annoying also. One thing is that any simulation software with a user convenient interface simulates the algorithm and gives the output. I'll just go deeper in the next second, just a second. Software is not correct to produce result interface. So these two things you'll always hear from the people from the industry, that how you can validate these things. But I want to explain you that simulation tool is divided into two parts. One is graphical user interface and one is simulation engine, right? So whatever software that we are trying to learn in our particular simulation stuff, they are particularly more of a graphical user interface. For example, if I am trying to use Honeybee, that is only an interface where we are trying to provide the building physical data or properties to the simulation engine, right? The simulation engine will be the algorithm, the combination of algorithm that simulates your data. Like for example, if I want to simulate a particular room in Honeybee, and I want to understand what is the daylight factor, what is the useful daylight illuminance, I will model all the data in Rhinoceros or any other CAD tool. I'll put the properties in Honeybee. So that is the only part of the graphical user interface. But when we are talking about daylight simulation, every part of simulation is done by the Radiance engine. So Radiance is the program on which basis you should compare a particular software. For example, I want to compare two simulation software. So you should always ask the question, what is the simulation engine? You should not ask the question, which software you are using, right? For example, Design Builder also uses Radiance. Honeybee is also using Radiance, right? But Ecotech was earlier using a split flux method, but later with a plugin it was using Radiance. So my thought is, whenever you are trying to understand a particular simulation tool, you should always first also understand how a simulation engine works, right? So coming to the one of the comparisons that to explain in much more detail. So we are having two best practice model that was developed in Ecotech. The left hand part of the model is designed in Ecotech or model in Ecotech, but the simulation engine that was used was split flux method. And the right hand side of the model was also modeled in Ecotech, but the simulation engine was the Radiance. So you could clearly see that there is a big difference in daylight factor between two simulation engines, right? Well, on the left hand side, you can see only 28% of the area is more than 2% daylight factor, but on the right hand side, it is 46%. So how can you validate it? Which one is accurate? So unless you know how a simulation engine works, you can't only depend on just click a button and say that yes, this is the result. So my thinking is that whenever you're trying to understand any software, you should always understand how a simulation engine works, right? So this is the first misconception that in our industry here, that only the graphical interface simulates the building. No, you should always understand it is the simulation engine. Now coming to the daylighting simulation. Daylight simulation combines a sky model where we have lot of different type of sky, CI, clear sky, overcast sky. For point in time simulation, we provide the sky conditions. For CBDM, that is climate based daylight modeling, yearly simulations, we get the data from the weather file. Then we have a scene geometry where we provide all the properties of the environment. For example, the boundary of the simulation domain, for example, the building reflectance, your brick wall thickness, and everything is being prepared in the scene geometry. Then the global illumination algorithm, that is the radiance engine, comes into play and we get the output, right? So before going into the next slide, I want to just tell you one thing. There was a research done by again Christopher Renard that maximum error that we create in doing simulation comes from modeling. 50% of the error comes from the modeling, not the simulation, because a small model opening, or for example, there is a one small room and there the corners are not closed, then there will be a leak of light, there will be leakage in light that will disturb your simulation results. So modeling is a very critical thing when doing a simulation, right? So you should always remember this image. This is a very important image just to cross check what you have done. Whenever you are doing any simulation, daylight simulation, you should cross check this thing with your model. For example, have you set your scene? What is the area of interest? Are you doing a view based or grid based simulation? What is the space occupancy type? Have you made the schedule? How the space will be used? Because in the first slide we already just discussed that everything is dependent on occupancy and occupant behavior. Then we have the sky model. Then everything, after setting all these four aspects of simulations, it is then simulated or been thrown into the simulation engine. Then the interpretation of results starts. Once you get the result, we try to interpret it, we try to understand it. Does it make sense? Once the results, if you see that the result doesn't make sense, then we again try to understand or change the properties of the building. There comes the optimization. So this is the way how the industry is trying to understand, or whatever green buildings you are trying or you are seeing in this field are being modeled and designed. So some checklist that you should always follow while designing a model or something for daylight simulation. Before the start, you should always be very clear with some particular points. For example, which daylight performance metric you are trying to correlate with what you are trying to do. For example, I want to understand if my particular space is daylit or not. What is the range I want to find out? Which metric is very useful? Will I go for a point in time analysis or will I go for a yearly simulation? So everything should be preoccupied in our mind. So do you have a general idea of what the results are targeting? Then you should always ask, is your simulation program is verified? Like, is it a industrial standard simulation engine or what? Like Radiance is industrial standard simulation engine, and it is an open source software. So one more thing I want to add here. There are two things in our industry that is an open source and it is paid. So a lot of designers, architects, engineers invest their time in paid softwares. I'm not telling that is bad, but when you are going for open source particular software, there is a huge community and forums in website where you can ask your doubts and you will get uh, your doubts clear very easily. So Radiance is developed in 1985, but it is still being used as an open source and it's a vast community. So it is a very big validated engine industry, and I hope you also join the forums and all these things. Now coming to the next thing, have you secured credible climate data? Because climate is everything. You should always cross check with the climate data you have done, you have selected for your project. So before you start, once you are ready, you should now come into the preparation of the scene. You should always model your neighboring obstructions. You should never neglect the neighboring obstructions because it has a huge impact on energy and daylight aspect of a particular building. If you want to model a tree, there are a lot of research have been done how to model a tree. Shall we take a sphere? Shall we take an octagonal shape? Or shall we just map like a leaf or something? Will the radiance engine understand it or not? Right. So, but remember, more the complexity of the model, more is the simulation time. Right. So you should always ask the question, how much reality is needed in a particular simulation, how much it is changing your result. For example, if a tree is very far away from a site and my modeling it and not including in simulation, I can find only 10 lux level difference in my space. So I will not model that thing. I will not waste my time modeling that tree because it is very far away from my site. So that is very important, that you should understand which particular aspect of the model can bring a change inside the model. And once you start doing simulations, your intuitions will increase. As a designer, as an engineer, your intuitions will increase. First time you do simulation, next time you will know that, okay, this thing will change. I know this will happen, right? Then you come to modeling the ground plane, because the ground also reflects the daylight, right? When the ground plane should be modeled, wall thickness is very important, because lot of simulation, I hope you have done energy simulations part also, and in energy simulation, a lot of time we use a single SLD, single line diagram, but the thickness of the brick, or you can understand like this, when we provide a thickness in the window, there is the in the sill level we have a thickness and the light will bounce from the sill level. But if you don't provide the wall thickness, nothing will happen. There will be an error. That light will not bounce from that particular aspect. Okay, so it is very important to understand, for daylighting model, you need to model the wall thickness, interior partition, hanging ceilings, and large pieces of furniture. Then you should also uh, model the window frames if it is acceptable, if you have the data of the windows and the reflectance of these properties and all these things. Movable shading devices, window glazing for accurate properties. So these are the things you can also get from the web, and because there is a checklist, clear checklist, what you should be using and what you should be modeling to have an accurate simulation model. Now coming to the next aspect, the last aspect, that is the setting of the simulation. This is also a very big thing, and we will talking more about how to set a simulation, because from 2011 to 2006 till 21, a lot of change, a lot have changed. Like if a simulation was taking for a yearly model 3 hours, now we can do it in 10 seconds. Yes, this is true. We can model the model, same model in 10 seconds. So we'll see that. So while setting up a simulation, and if you're working in Radian, you should always check the project directory. These are the very simple things. You should always check the sensors are upwards or not. So this is the one of the reasons I told you, you should always you should understand how a simulation engine works, because in Radiance the sensors are always should be facing towards the ceiling, because whenever we are trying to understand daylighting, it is always on the work plane facing upwards. So if you model something in Rhinoceros or any CAD environment and the direction is downward, you will get a wrong result because it is facing down. So you should always be very sensitive and very careful while designing the sensors, right? Because these are the very critical areas where simulation can go very wrong. Then the resolution of the work plane, the more the size of the grid, you are leveraging the error. You are trying, you are not actually capturing the particular instance. So more the resolution, less is the time, but error will increase. So you should always follow guides, like you have ECBC have already given you the grid sizes. What should the grid size? You should look into Griha or IGBC. Everywhere it has written what are the grid sizes, right? Then simulation parameters. In the next slide, I'll just talk about simulation parameter. And then the last one is the correct sky model. Now coming to the simulation parameter, I'll just guide you to one very fantastic page from Radiance website. And this is the page where all the Radiance parameters are already given to you to make you understand which is accurate, when you can go for faster simulation, and what you should be using for the final output. For example, you can see in the right left hand side, these are the parameters. If you want to understand what how these parameters are affecting the daylight simulation, then you have to go to the Radiance website. All the things are being documented in Radiance. You should have a urge to understand how it is working, because whenever a simulation tool a scientist is developing or any developer is developing, he's trying to replicate the reality into the computer world. So it is very interesting to understand how real life conditions are modeled in computer simulations. Okay, so you can go to this particular website. I'll just share this PPT with you also, that you can also have a look by your own. So this is the from the Radiance website online. Now let us dive into how Radiance have changed and what are the coming in future for Radiance and how it is helping architects in very starting stage of design. So in 2011 to 15, we were using Ecotech as a graphical user interface, not simulation engine. That time we were using Radiance 5.1 for point-in-time analysis with single core. I hope you, the single core means whenever you buy a commercial laptop, you have some simulation power with your system, like how many core, Intel core, 8 core, 6 cores. So at that time, the Radiance that you are using, it was only using one simulation core. That's why it was taking a lot of time, right? Daisium was used to do the annual simulation. That was also single core. So it was taking a lot of time to simulate a particular model. It may take days also. So there was a change in 2015 to 2018 when a lot of architect designers started shifting their modeling in Rhinoceros, because it was a parametric model and modeling was very easy in Rhino. So it was very difficult for sustainable consultants to validate the models using the old format like Ecotech, because Ecotech was also stopped in 2015. Sorry, 2012. The last version of Ecotech was in 2012. So Christopher Renard, the same scientist, developed Diva, which was also a very accurate simulation graphical interface. So this is Diva is not a simulation software, that is a graphical interface which uses Radiance. So here also the same concept, only the plus point was enhanced modeling capability. Here you are getting all the powerful aspect of modeling, but with the same simulation engine. And then in the same year, we got the Honeybee legacy version, where Grasshopper was used to provide the input parameters for daylighting. But the main problem with these things are the time taken for this simulation was too large for big models. So there was a need to upgrade the way the simulation we were doing. So a lot of times architects will only do a point in time analysis. It will not uh, help them to understand the whole year ideology of that building, right? So coming to 2018, there was a big announcement in Radiance that came the Radiance 5.2 version and also Honeybee Plus version, which was open source project, and which till now it is open source, and both the thing are working on an open source project. So the main enhancement that Radiance 5.2 brought was, one was that we can do annual simulation with Radiance. Daisium was not needed anymore for annual simulation, because Radiance with Honeybee was possible to accurately model daylighting in annual aspect. Next, GPU enabled PCs can be used. For example, whenever we are earlier, only one core was used to simulate a Radiance engine or something. But with the advancement of Radiance 5.2, we can use the power of graphics or the graphic card that we are having in our computer to enhance the power and reduce the time taken for the annual simulation to simulate. So this was big improvement. I can remember while working with Infosys project, earlier in one of the buildings in Infosys, it took, when we are trying to simulate a building in days, it took at least 2 days, I guess. And the same model when was replicated in another area of that Infosys project, and we did in the Radiance 5.2, it only took 6 hours to simulate that thing with GPU powered Radiance engine, right? So there was a big enhancement in today's industry with the GPU power. And also there are a lot of techniques and researches are going on how to more accurately model and understand the modeling capability in Rhino, Grasshopper, and use of multi-phase daylight simulation method. So there are when we are trying to understand a daylight simulation, we are using two-phase method. Like we are trying to trace a light from the object to the sun. That is two-phase, from the object to the sun. But right now there are a lot of development in daylighting aspect, where we are coming up with three-phase, four-phase, five-phase method, where everything is been broken down from source to the window, from window to the skylight. So there are a lot of new things are coming up in daylight industry, and this was a big jump from 2015 radiance to 2018 radiance. And in present, it is much more advanced right now. That is the Radiance 5.3 version is came up, and now Honeybee also upgraded to a Honeybee LBT. And there is also one paid software and very powerful and robust, that is Climate Studio. That is also developed by Christopher Rennard under Soleiman. Okay, so I'm not telling that this is the only software you are going to use in the industry. There are a lot of softwares, right? But I'm telling you, to understand the simulation engine, I'm talking about Radiance, not the graphical interface. Honeybee, Climate Studio, Rhino are only the graphical interface. They are not simulation software. Okay, Radiance is a simulation engine, right? So the final announcement that till now we have got is that now we can simulate with multi-core. If you doesn't have a GPU, and like if it doesn't have a graphic card in your system and you have only a CPU with 10 cores, you can use all the 10 cores to do this Radiance simulation right now using Honeybee LBT. Now cloud computation is also enabled with Radiance 5.3. Like if you want to model a very big project, like you want to model a university at the same time, you can directly model anything any scale and directly just dump it into the cloud computation. So everything will simulated in a good precision of time. Within some hours, you will get your results. So that is a big advancement in the lighting industry of using cloud computation enabled power. And with Ladybug Tools, we are working on a project called as Pollination, where all this thing will be enabled very quickly within next 2 to 3 months. And last one is the path tracing simulation. That is a game changer for lighting industry. That is being used in Climate Studio. It is not used in Honeybee. And to explain this thing, coming to the next slide. So path tracing is nothing but whenever one particular simulation is done or one particular algorithm is solved, it is directly visualized in your screen. So you can see in 2011 when you were using brute force like Radiance, if I want to simulate the whole year with Radiance, with point in time analysis, it will take 3.2 days to simulate. Then in DayZim, it would take 2.2 hours. Now the same model with this path tracing, where we can simulate in 10 seconds. Okay, so it is faster, accurate, and user friendly. Right. So this is but the only caveat with this thing is you have to understand, because unless you know how the simulation engine is working, you will not understand what is the difference between Radiance 5.1, 5.2, 5.3. So in your practical field, when you're working on a practical project, lot of time, if you are a simulation expert or if you are a modeler, lot of times a different company can give you a model to check or to validate. So never confuse one particular simulation model with another. For example, a company is doing a simulation project and with the daylighting, and they are using Radiance 5.2. And you are again taking that model and simulating Radiance 5.3. There will be some little bit of difference between these two results. So it doesn't mean that this is wrong. So I can explain you why that is different, because Radiance do a stochastic, I guess the spelling is stochastic or something, where it uses an algorithm which changes with each simulation. No single simulation is same with Radiance. It will change little bit, right? So it is very important to understand what is going behind the screen. And this is the Honeybee LBT cloud computing, you can see, right? So in today's context, now we are going into an integrated design workflow, where an architect tries to design a model in building information modeling. Then we simulate, then the same model and the properties of the model is directly brought to the simulation engine like a Grasshopper. Then it is simulated. Then this, if it is not satisfactory, we take the same data back to the BIM project and we make the modification and the same script works. So the main plus point for this type of integrated design workflow is an architect can simulate by his own while designing, or a designer can simulate by his own while designing by giving a script to him. For example, I have this script. Whatever changes I make, I will not wait for the consultant to come back to me and just tell, this will work, this will not work. So right now, the architects with BIM and building information modeling and building energy modeling, the collaboration is increasing day by day. So this is called integrated design workflow. In my next slide, I'll just show you 1 minute video how we have tried to incorporate in radiation analysis. So you can see left hand side is Rhino, or the top one is BIM model is ArchiCAD, and the last one is Grasshopper. So all the data from the ArchiCAD are directly brought to the Grasshopper through a plugin like the wall properties, the floor plan properties, and everything directly without building any new model in Rhinoceros. We're directly importing the data into the Rhinoceros. So we are saving time on rebuilding the model, right? And whatever changes I'll make in ArchiCAD, everything will be in real time. It will change in Grasshopper. That is a big bonus for us. So I'll directly run my solar radiation studies with that particular script, and I'll get the data, right? So you can see how much faster it is to work with the integrated design workflow, right? So this is the advancement that future is moving on slowly. Everything interoperability is increasing day by day between the softwares. So at the end, and then this is the last part of my presentation where I just wanted to just guide you in a small project where how you can start a daylight simulation, right? So you can, under step one, before going for intense daylight simulation, you should always try to go for small detailings. For example, you do a climate study where you try to find out the cutoff angle at what times of the year you are trying to block the sun, or you want to cut down the harsh radiation with the daylight, right? Once you are satisfied with that thing, then you go for a solar protector to get the vertical shading angle or horizontal shading angle. For example, in this project, the left hand side, you can see the balcony doesn't have a vertical projection. So in the protector, you can see from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. we are having direct sunlight into the building. But when I'm projecting this thing vertically for 1 feet or 2 feet, I can easily cut down this thing. So before going into the detailed simulation of daylighting, I'm optimizing my building with the small concepts. That is a basic fundamental of designing. Okay, it is not always necessary to do a daylight simulation or any particular simulation to get the result of optimized building. A small thing at the pre-design stage can have a huge impact when you go for the final design development. And at the end, you can go for the simulation of the tools with the base case and with the particular case, new cases, right? So I hope I just made you understand how the industry is working and the new things are coming up in this industry. And thank you. Over to you, Sudarshan.